Hello and welcome to today's video. This time I'll be going through my recent pickups of new and vintage paperbacks for the months of February and March 2025. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we'll start off with this one, which was the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark. Now, this is a book I've actually got in the original Penguin first print, number 2235, but this is the re-release, I believe, with the movie adaptation cover. So, yeah, 67 reprinted twice, and this is from 69. So I'm not sure if this is the first one with the movie jacket or not, but that clearly shows there a very young Maggie Smith as Miss Jean Brodie. And apparently it's an absolute classic. And I was listening to the Christie Time podcast, and they were talking about some of the similarities between this and some of the 60s Agatha Christie books, and it made me want to pick up a reading copy. So, well, that's what I've got here, and this is one I got from Morris at Zardos. So it was one I was looking for, and thankfully one that I found, and that's in a really nice condition, that one, so nothing to do on that. Whilst I was at Morris's, he'd recently had a Penguin collection in. It wasn't mega early books, but there was lots of pretty decent ones from around the 400 up mark. And I have my list with me, so these are ones which I've already got, but they are upgrades. So this is number 856, which is a Simonum. And this was the time, because a lot of the Simonum books are so thin, Penguin would publish two in a volume. So it's a slightly thicker book, but it's actually a couple of hundred pages plus, but it's actually two books in one. And very pleased to get this as a upgrade. Once again, that one's absolutely fine. So we're going to have a couple of piles going on. We're going to have ones which are going to need to have a little polish, like that one. That one is just going to need, obviously all of them are going to need a brush. That one's going to need a brush as well. And we'll get a couple of piles going, and then we'll deal with them. This I was particularly pleased to get. Now, although it's got a bit of sunning there on the edge of the actual jacket, it's a pretty nice copy, that one. And Forster is an author who I really like, and this was part of the run when they printed 10 all at once, I believe. They printed a load of Hornblower at the same time, and they made him a million seller just like that, which they did with a few authors, of course. So yeah, I was really pleased. That's a really nice tight one. All these are going to need is a bit of a brush. So that was a nice upgrade. As was this. I had my new writings out fairly recently. For, at least I was looking through them briefly, for a members only, or sort of YouTube channel supporters video. And I was mentioning that I had 3 Penguin new writings to upgrade, and this was one of them. So I was really pleased to get this. Because they were published throughout the war, some of the copies are quite difficult to find in nice condition, and this was one of the ones I had to upgrade, so I was really pleased to get this one sorted. Not quite got that little 9pence off the front, but it's still a better copy than mine. It's number 22. I imagine this is sort of 1944 or something like that. There we are, 1944, yeah. So it was, you could say, arguably one of the toughest periods in Penguin history, this, because the books were so very thin. It was maximum sort of paper rationing at the time, and it just makes these books difficult to find today. So, oh, look at that. Can you believe it? Look, a little fleck has just come off there. So, what I'm going to do in this particular case, I'm just going to use some Pritt stick and put the tiniest little slither on there to get that back on. This is absolutely typical of these books. But can you believe it? Let's hope I don't drop it. Let's try that. Let's see if I can. It's very fiddly. Let's see if I can get it on. I'm going to have to move it out of camera, so I'll edit and come back. There we are. So I got that little fleck back on. As I said, it's an upgrade. It's far better than the one that I've currently got, which I think the cover is virtually falling off. But it just shows how difficult some of these particular wartime paperbacks are to find in super nice condition. But yeah, since it was just such a minor repair, I just used the Pritt stick for that one. This is another odd one, which I think I must have been missing completely. So it was on my wants list as ones I didn't have at all. So now that I've licked the first 1,000, I'm now moving on to 1,000 to 2,000 and 2,000 to 3,000. There's a little bit of a mark there. Of those at the moment, I need there's about 30 to 35 that I haven't got at all. So they'd obviously be my priorities to try and get the ones that I'm completely missing. After that, it's just a very, very long list of books that are going to need upgrading. But as and when time allows. Now, here's another Earl Stanley Gardner. Now, this has got a slight little ring there, which will mean that I can actually polish this one. It's got a glossy cover. This is number 1295. This was another one I was missing completely, or was on my upgrade list. I think it was on the upgrade list, this. So very, very pleased to get that, and that can go in the to be polished pile. Now the next three are also all penguins, and these are ones which, although none of them were listed as ones that I needed to upgrade, these copies were particularly nice, and because of the period that they were made, and I knew I would get them for a decent price from Morris, I grabbed them when I saw them, basically. So yeah, Night Watches, 1940, that one. That's just going to need a bit of a brush. This one here, He Who Came. Was it that one? Was it that one? I can't remember now. Yeah, this one. You see how thin they are, these little wartime editions. And I think if you see these, they just generally haven't survived in any of the different genres. So pick up the crime, the travel, the fiction ones, it doesn't matter. They're generally not around. The yellow crossword ones or puzzle books, you generally can't find them very easily because they were so thin, you know. So worth grabbing these when you see them. Yeah, 1944 again. It's that fateful year when things were tough, very much. Here's another one, similar sort of period. But yeah, I shall compare all these against my existing copies because I suspect there may be some upgrades to be had in them, which is why I grabbed them in the first place. Just while they're there, there's a couple more from that little period. So I've got these two as well at the same time. This one here, you can see it's very, very thin, although it's got a darkened spine. It's also got a blank back. And this one here is like a traditional, similar sort of period, but it's got an advertising back. And what Greys might do, for example, is they pay Penguin to have their advert on the first 30,000 copies. Then the next 20,000 potentially would have no advert on at all. It would be blank. So this is a tail end run of the first edition of the Bridge of St. Louis Ray. But it's at the very end when whatever the budget was, I can't remember which advert is on the back of this one, that had run out. So they, at that point, then decided they would just print the remainder of the run blank. So it's just a little variant. It's a blank back variant. There are some of the crime books which have got blank backs. So obviously those are the most collectible of all, and they're really sort of sought after, you know. I don't think I've got any of the crime ones. Right. I'm going to re-glue this spine. I'm going to use the end of my book binding glue. I've got another bottle of this now in reserve. But since I haven't used it for a little while, it might take a little bit of getting going. Oh no, there we are. Look, we're straight out. That's good news. Now, I'm not gluing it right up to the very end because time I put the actual book back in, it's going to squish down a bit and push to the end. So we don't actually need to put the layer of glue right up to the very end. If it does, it doesn't matter. You can just squish it out and just sort of rub it off with your fingers, you know. So yeah, apart from having a very dark spine, this one, which is not uncommon with books from this period, you can imagine it was kept in a room which had a coal fire. And this is that could be the soot from the fire there, you know, from the fireplace, that is, very, very easily. That's exactly what it could be. So anyway, once again, that is the non-polished pile, and that's the we can polish. And this one here by Saki. Once again, just a really nice condition copy from a scarce period. So I'm checking this one, 1941. I'm checking this one against my main series one for a possible upgrade. Right, something completely different now, not penguin related. So this is a Bantam, an American Bantam. It's a John Steinbeck, The Red Pony, and it's actually a movie tie-in, a Robert Mitchum movie tie-in of all things. The thing is, I don't remember this book. I've got quite a collection of Steinbeck in many forms. Obviously, Penguin published a load, as did Pan. So I've got a lot in my collection through those two publishers, but I don't recognise this title at all. It almost looks like it may have been part of something else. I really, really don't know. Let's have a look at the printing history. Bantam edition published 1948. The Red Pony. Janius Maltby, From the Pastures of Heaven. Okay. Now, this one, a little dink down the bottom of the spine, but nothing really coming away. So I shall just pop that one in the to be polished pile once we've given it a brush. Now we've got a Collins White Circle. So this was once again in Morris's £1 shop. It's a tail end one, sort of towards the end of the run. And I don't generally collect the cerise ones. I think because I got so many Collins White Circle, I'll probably end up trying to get everything that the publisher put out. But at the same point, I don't want to pay mega money for them, particularly these ones which have got the cerise covers. But it was a nice copy. It was well worth £1. So that's why that one came home with me. As did this one, which was an odd Shakespeare. So once again, this is from Morris's £1 shop. And I mean, not that these are worth much more than £1, but this was an early one. It was a first, and it was in its original dust wrapper. I've got a handful of these. Yeah, that first, 1937. I haven't tried to track them all down. They often turn up in sets for about 10 to 12 quid for the set. But yeah, it's absolutely fine for that. Now, this is by far the most expensive book I bought, but because it was lumped in a job lot, I can't tell you exactly how much it cost me. It is actually sealed. This was one that I got from Morris, and when we picked up the Eric Gadd collection, this was a book I actually thought I had. And in actual fact, I didn't. It was one I was missing. So that is why I picked this one up today. So it's an early Collins White Circle. It's number 25 in actual fact. There we are, the cask, Freeman Wills Croft. It is a scarce one. It's one I haven't got. And I know for a fact that, like the other White Circles from Eric's collection, it will be a first printing. So I'll make a record of it because I have got a bibliography. The 13th December 1936. So all those previous printings, of course, are the previous hardback editions of this. They're not the paperbacks. Chances are this is probably, but I'm not 100% certain, but probably the first time this was put into an A format paperback. Almost certainly. But we'll take out the little 75 pence inside, and I shall add that information to my White Circle bibliography, which for the crime books now is actually complete. So for all the ones I've got, I have actually recorded those. So that's really nice. Okay, next we've got a Pan, A Century of Science Fiction. Look at this. It's the Pan T series, T19. And these were 6 shillings when they came out. Morris actually had 2 copies of this up there. Neither of them were that perfect. This is pretty nice. It's got the best spine, but it's got a name inside the front cover. But apart from that, it's absolutely fine. It's a real beefy anthology here with some good names in. Look at this. Asimov, Aldous, H.G. Wells, Bester, Jose Farmer. I mean, lots and lots of great names. Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke. Very early, look, Marion Zimmer Bradley there. Because this is, when was this? 1966, this anthology. Look at that. Under Frank Herbert. And suggested reading at the end as well. So quite a nice little, well, not so little, but quite a nice little tome that. So, yeah, I was pleased to get that one for my Pan collection. Definitely not one I've ever come across in the flesh. And then Morris had two copies of it. It's typical, isn't it? But yeah, I'm quite pleased to get that one. So that was cool. Another odd reference, just a cheapy one from that collection. It's it's actually misprinted slightly there. This is one of the reference books, Geography. Let's try that again. Right, so another odd one from Morris's, I think, Pound Shop, and this was an odd reference book. This is a bit like the Shakespeare's, where there's a lot of them. I'm only getting them for the sake of trying to complete the runs, basically. And this is just an odd one of those, 1949, Dictionary of Geography. There's quite a few of these in the range. I've got some of them. I must have about half of them now. Iris Murdoch, An Unofficial Rose. Yeah, now this one here has got a photograph jacket by Harry Pecanotti. Now, Harry Pecanotti did a series of photograph jackets for Iris Murdoch when they got re-released in the mid-1970s. This is actually 1971. So I think that he may have done them over a series of years. There's about, I think there's 10 or 11. And he was very famous at the time for being a photographer and one of the editors of a magazine in the UK called Nova. And he was one of their photograph editors. And I'll put some photos up on the screen at the moment. So Harry Pecanotti was famous for photographing women very close up, either smoking or sucking a lollipop, very, very provocative and of their time. And I think they're fantastic. I'd love to get all the Iris Murdoch ones. So this is a reprint of An Unofficial Rose, but it's with his particular jacket. And there is about 10 or 11 to get, and I'll pop them up on the screen now, but they're very, very difficult to track down. And when you do find them, generally expensive as well. Speaking of Iris Murdoch, here is another one. This is a proper first, one that I was missing. So quite interesting to see I was missing some of these. This is The Bell, the first from 1958. That was fine. That was one I got off eBay, that one. And then in the same lot as that one was The Sea. Now, this is the book that won the Booker Prize, and I've never read it. I hear it's absolutely fantastic. It really is supposed to be excellent, this. So I'm going to really enjoy this one. It looks a bit of a tome, but this is a really nice first edition paperback. Even got the original Panther Oblique on, so it's got a lot of things going for it. So I will read that one. That does look like it's going to be quite a bit of fun. Right, a few more sort of miscellaneous books. Some of these were from Morris again. So this was, if you can believe it, in his Pound Shop. Look at this, Dark Terrors, and it's volume 2. So it's a horror anthology edited by Stephen Jones and David Sutton. And this one was actually signed by Stephen Jones. It's like must be a sample one, because it says Cassell PLC. And it's got a Brian Lumley in there, like Nicholas Royal. Some names there, Paul Macaulay, Clive Barker, Graham Masterton, Ramsey Gowron. A whole host of names there, Kim Newman, Harlan Ellison, and Peter Straub. How cool is that, eh? That's a really, really nice book. That was all of £1, if you can believe it. That is just amazing. Another nice little anthology. So I do collect these. These are published by Mayflower. They are surprisingly difficult to find, these anthologies. And, well, I really like them. You may have seen on the channel my look at the Best New Writing SF. They're much, much easier to get than these, which are really, really tough. The best of. And this is the best of the best. So there's 2 volumes of that as well. So I'm just trying to get the best of SF, of which I think there's about 12. And then there's at least 2. This is the second one I've got of the best of the best. So there you go. But when I read science fiction, as I think I've said before, I like to read short stories more than anything else nowadays. But there's a little list of what's in there. It's a Ballard. And this Judith Merrill, I mean, she edited so many, didn't she? So many anthologies. Now, I just realised that Penguin, sorry, the Pan SF can go in it can have a little polish, that one. The rest can't. They're all as is. Now, I was really pleased to get this one by Kenneth Bulmer, The Demons. Now, this is a compact SF, number F277, which is one I needed for my compact run. This is the first compact I've actually got this year. And I was trying to make a bit of an effort to try and finish the compact run off, but you know how it is, you get distracted with other stuff. So I was really, really pleased to get this one. It's a nice tight copy. The reason it was in Morris's £1 shop was because he had multiple copies of it. He had like 3 copies up there, so evidently I hadn't checked very hard up there. Now a nice early Pan, The Ringer. Pan main series, number 42, so it's the numbered only series. This is a reprint though, so you can tell because of the price is 2 shillings, and it's just a later sort of cover design. So if we have a look here, yeah, look, the 4th printing was from 1954. This 5th one here was 1957. So whether this is the first time the 1957 edition had this jacket or not, I don't know off the top of my head. It would be the sort of thing I'd look up on the Pan collector's website, ticket.net, which is a great Pan resource. But that's a nice copy of that one. So once again, it was £1 in Morris's shop, which is excellent. This was also £1. I do pick up Clint Eastwood movie tie-ins. I've got quite the collection. I've not got anything like them all because there's an awful lot. This one's got a bit of sticker residue on, so I am just going to dab the tiniest bit of eucalyptus oil on this one just to see if it'll take off that little bit of sticker. But yeah, I do like Clint Eastwood, but the amount of movie tie-ins that there are for his films is stupendous. There we are. There's so many. Oh, it smells lovely, doesn't it? There are so many. He was very busy as an actor, wasn't he, old Clint? Not so busy nowadays, of course, so we'll just leave that for a bit. But yeah, in his day, he was producing stuff every year. This was a movie tie-in that I used to have, and for some reason it got lost. I don't know why. Quite an interesting film. This is a good movie tie-in because it's got some pictures, which is always a bonus. Slightly risque if you've ever seen the movie. Very, very good indeed. I think once seen, perhaps never forgotten. And there we are. It's a Pan movie tie-in. It's a fairly early one, early 70s. So quite pleased to get that one, 40p. Just needs a little bit of a polish, and that'll be absolutely fine. We've got a few more penguins here, so we'll get these out of the way while we're waiting for the gauntlet there. Edmund Chrisman, Buried for Pleasure. Now, I can't remember if this is just one I need or if it was an upgrade. I suspect it was just an upgrade. I don't think I found any that I needed at all outright at Morris's, but I honestly can't remember without looking them up. I'm sure this was an upgrade. Number 1054. And it is really good that I have got the list up to date now. So when collections come along, I can just dive in and get the upgrades. Yeah, now that needs a bit of re-gluing in a sec, which I do. And another one of those early ones, look, 473, sitting on the fence. Another one from that scarce period, which is in better than normal condition. And that is exactly why I've picked it up. These are genuinely scarce, 1944 again. That period, honestly, I mean, the crime books from that period are in the hundreds of pounds nowadays. So, you know, the other ones maybe not quite as in demand, but even so, you know. All right, let's see if we can get this glue going again. Here we are. Now, I'm still getting people asking me, oh, what's the glue you're using? So just have a little look in the description down below. I got this off from Amazon. It's dedicated bookbinder's glue. When it dries completely clear. And that's the great thing about it. Plus, it obviously does the trick. It's not as messy as stuff like a Pritt stick can be. Although, as you saw at the start, I use Pritt stick for very, very delicate repairs rather than swamping it in this stuff. But there we are. It is a good thing. So that's that. Let's see if it's just loosened that sticker now. And I would say it hasn't come off as easily, or it's not coming off as easily as I would have liked, considering we've just soaked it in eucalyptus oil. I was hoping it was just going to literally peel off in my hand. Now, there are many, many ways to get old stubborn stickers off. And the traditional way I would do it would just be to put polish, Mr. Sheen polish on, and let that soak in, and that would generally do the trick as well. Yeah, it has done it. It's got it off. It's left a tiny mark there, but I think that's more now the glue residue. So when we give that one a polish in a little bit, I think that'll probably sort that one out. A few other bits and pieces to look at. It's not all books, you know, but mainly books. This is the latest copy of the Old Books Guide. Now, I don't know if this is regional, but this is the Southwest edition of it. And it lists all the bookshops in the Southwest, sort of from Bristol or Bath, Bristol and Bath, down to Penzance and Land's End. So I shall just leave that there for a bit. If you want to pause it or maybe take a screenshot or something like that, there is a website at the southwestoldbooks.co.uk, but this is the 2025 edition, and there's some good stuff here. Some of these I've been to, some of them I have not. The one in Puddletown there, I've been to many of these around the Bournemouth Pool area, Weymouth with Dorset Bob. I've done Newton Abbot and Totnes, and obviously up there Westbury, that's where Morris is, near Bath. So I think more top end of Northern Devon is going to be sort of next on the agenda, I think. And looking into Cornwall, well, there's lots in Cornwall I've not gone down to. So yeah, maybe there's a bit of exploring to be had there. But yeah, worth, I always keep a copy of this in the car, just in case I am out and about, because you never know when it could be quite handy. Okay, we've got a few B formats here, and who remembers this edition of The Lord of the Rings? So this is one of the early, but not the first, omnibus editions, and I read something very, very similar to this when I first read The Lord of the Rings. I had The Hobbit separately that I must have read maybe 3 or 4 times before I took on reading The Lord of the Rings. I'd listened to the BBC radio adaptation, how many parts? 26 parts or something. Absolutely loved it. I had it on cassette, and well, eventually someone gave me the omnibus edition. Now, my omnibus edition, I remember, had a cover price of £3 on it. This one here is earlier. It's got a price of £1.75. The original first print of this one, I think, is like 30 shillings or something. So yeah, the 1-volume edition was first published in 1968. This is the one from 1971. I am actually after a really nice condition copy of the first print of this omnibus in paperback. It tends to go for about £75 for a really, really tip-top shape one. But this one I bought really for nostalgia. If I ever am going to read Lord of the Rings, it's going to be in this edition. If I'm going to read it again, I should say. So, yeah, and it was in the £1 shop from Morris. So once again, you just can't go wrong, can you, for a pound? That's just amazing. So that was that. Then, in that collection of 1970s penguins I had recently, there was a little run of a half a dozen King Penguin books, and I've decided to keep these because they're just so lovely. Also included was, in one of the books, was a King Penguin bookmark. I did actually have another one of these, not this one, a different one. These are the books from 1981, and I sent it to Nicholas Rawle because at the time I wasn't actually collecting King Penguins. So I'm going to put that to one side because I've got a couple of other Penguin bookmarks to show you in a minute. But they're really nice. These are really nice copies as well. They're all first prints. And because they came from that collection from a chap called Alan Swell, they've often got, they'll probably all have the date and the place where they were actually bought second hand, because that's how Alan would record his collection, which is fine, but also a little annoying today because it's like on every single book. But I don't mind too much. And as I said, it was nice to get a little run of these in one hit, you know. I'll keep a little eye open for these, because these really were Penguin's answer to the Picadors, the Picador White Spines. And there was a few other imprints. There was Abacus was another one, and there was Virago, the women's press, and they were all competing in that sort of more highbrow literary market. And I don't mind dipping into that now and again when the mood takes me. It's not all pulpy, it's not all science fiction. I don't mind some real literature sometimes, and generally the books aren't that long. You can get through them quite quickly, And I think the list is quite interesting. These were so nice. I decided just to keep them rather than move them on, because they are lovely. So all from that sort of early 1980s period. Picador, of course, had started, like 1972, something like that. And Pan didn't have anything like this back then. They had some B format stuff they were publishing, but Penguin didn't have a lot. It was all Picador. A really nice edition of that one. Very, very nice. This is the most sizable one of all. It's really nice. I mean, this was £2.95 when it came out. That wouldn't have been cheap. Let me have a look at the publishing date of this one. 1981, and that was £2.95. That would have been expensive in 1981, I'll tell you that. But yeah, very cool. So quite nice, those. So here's some of that related bits and pieces. So we'd already seen the King Penguin bookmark there, and that just turned up inside one of the books, as so often these bits of ephemera do. And I absolutely love them, so I'm getting quite a collection of Penguin bookmarks these days. Here's one that Dorset Bob gave me fairly recently. It must have come his way. Birds of America. That was one of her classics, wasn't it? I think I've actually got the book, but it's not one I've not an author I collect. And this was a slightly earlier one, Daphne du Maurier, The Flight of the Falcon. And that's 5 shillings, and that lists the du Maurier backlist as well. So that's quite nice. I like that one a lot. And then I got one a bit similar to that for Iris Murdoch here, but it's in a little packet. This is one I got off eBay. I think it actually cost me about £4, this bookmark, which is more than I usually pay. Usually they come my way for free or they're dirt cheap. And I can't even get into it. Let's try. I'm going to need my blade of destiny. They've put it in and you can't get it out. So here we are. Put that in the rubbish there. So yes, this is quite nice. It's the same sort of format. There's a few, I think Penguin must have done like an author bookmark for all their main authors. There was one for Simonon, and it listed a huge list of all the Simonons that were in print at that point. And that one on eBay went for £16. So it was like amazing, I also picked up this, which was a little bit of I picked this little lot up off eBay again. It was about £5, but I really only picked it up for 2 specific bits of memorabilia. One was this du Maurier Magic in Penguins. I'm not sure. Yeah, that didn't come with that bookmark because that was from Dorset Bob again. So it included that. These little things of the Penguin bookcase, which I have. That's a little thing off the front of a book. This was the other thing I picked it up for. Was this free Puffin and Penguin books with Mr. Kipling cakes? I don't know much about this promotion. I'm looking at the logos. To me, it looks sort of early 80s. If I hazarded a guess, I'd say 1982. So an interesting bit there. This is a little proof slip that would have been put inside a book which evidently came out 30th of June 1977. I've got a few of these, but that's quite a late one for me. Oh, another bookmark, Penguin University Books. I'd say this is probably dating from about 1972. And then the Penguin Trollop, which is just a little catalogue. Not sure when this one came out. Just a little overview of Trollope. Never an author I've been able to get into, but I'm sure he's excellent. So yeah, a few little bits of related ephemera. And I do actually have a few more little catalogues and stuff, some Puffin ones, for us to look at in a minute. Now, I bought quite a bit of Agatha Christie this month because I've been trying to, now that I've got a proper bibliography, I've been really trying to pinpoint the correct editions with particular jackets and that. This one is fantastic, really. So it's a Tom Adams cover, but it's French language, and it's also got the mistake in the title. So if you know Agatha Christie's Third Girl, when it was first published by Fontana, it was The Third Girl, and the same mistake has happened on this French one, La Troisième Fille, and they've made the same error. And this is the French first printing, which was published the same year as the British one, 1968, in paperback. So quite a nice related error, you could say. I picked this one up off eBay, and including postage from France, it only cost £6, which I thought was a veritable bargain. The British first, with the error, goes for about 80. So Third Girl, out of all the Christies, is probably my favourite. I love all the different sort of variations that there are for it, all the different covers. The hardback, there's a really nice book club edition. There's the American hardbacks and book club. And the paperback editions are really nice, particularly that original one. So it's a book which, in the world of Christie, I'll probably end up making as almost like my focus, as a focus collector. So I might end up trying to get a few different editions of that one, but that's really nice. Just needs a polish now. Okay, so some of these were really, really nice. Others were not. So this is Labours of Hercules. Now this printing, this one actually is a first print, but sometimes some of the books that I've picked up are like later printings, and I've picked them up simply because those were the printings which were the first to have a particular jacket on. So it's with Christie, it's really, really difficult to try and pinpoint the correct jackets unless you have that bibliography. So that's what I've been doing. Now, a lot of these have got these stupid plastic cases on, which I really, really don't like. So I need to be quite careful getting these off. Okay, so I've gone and got my scissors, and I think getting these off is going to be much easier if I just slide the scissors down there. Cut the plastic, because I don't keep them in plastic. If I'm going to do anything with them, I'm going to bag them, aren't I? And they should hopefully just slide off quite easily then, with a bit of luck. This one was on really, really tightly. There we are. So this was once again bought from Morris at Zardos. It was about 2 years ago. Morris had a collection of 4,000 Agatha Christie books in, if you can believe it. There we are. That's actually done that's a beautiful, beautiful copy. I assure you they're not all like that, sadly. But yeah, he had a huge collection of Christie in. And a lot of them, though, were in those protective binders, those plastic sleeves. But that's a really nice one, that. This was a reissue of Murder in the Mews, which is a slightly more unusual cover, this one. It doesn't turn up that often. It's a reprint, 1963. And a little bit tougher to find, that particular one. I've had a couple through my hands, but it's not one that you see all the time, basically. Right, another one, which is in one of these plastic sleeves. And it's got the classic jacket by Tom Adams again. So I do have some very exciting news with regards to Tom Adams. And I shall reveal all very soon. I'm not ready quite to reveal it yet because we're still firming up a few plans. But if you're a fan of Tom Adams and his beautiful artwork, I think you're going to be really pleased with what I have got planned for April. Right, come on then, slide out. Go on, slide out. There we are. Yeah, I mean, it's done the trick. It's kept all the grubbiness off the book. But at the same time, I don't like to wrestle with them just to get them out of the sleeves. You know what I mean? Yeah, so this third impression from November 71, that would have been the first time that particular jacket had been used. And that's what I'm trying to get. It's the first appearance of certain jackets. So some might say I'm absolutely crazy, and I wouldn't be arguing with you. Now, you may have seen that the channel recently hit 30,000 subscribers. It's a bit inexplicable. I've had a real surge of subscribers lately. It's going to need re-gluing, isn't it? A real surge in subscribers. And I'm really delighted, of course. But at the same time, it's a little bit inexplicable. I think what may have happened is I've done some videos which are a little bit more outside what I usually do. And I think that's ended up bringing different sorts of viewers into the channel who've never come across me before. So I think, they do say variety is the spice of life. And I think, this channel is very much a variety channel. It's a lot of book content, yes, but it's not all the same thing. I don't specialize in one genre, for example, and I do like all sort of vintage paperbacks. Here we are. And I think that maybe appeals to people, but I do other stuff as well, like my toy stuff and things like that, So maybe that's the reason why, a few people are finding the channel perhaps for the first time. Also, YouTube seems to go in funny waves like this. Sometimes your channel seems to have a real ride the high of popularity for a little while, inexplicably, and then it goes back to normal again. So it may well be that I'm just experiencing a temporary surge, and things will be back to normal as of next month. But we'll have to wait and see. But it's nice to be experiencing a lot of new people joining the channel. And if you are new here, and this is like, you're slowly working your way back through the catalogue, I hope you like what you see, and I hope you like the variety, because that, I think, is really what it is. One of my long-term supporters, Simon, he said that he likes the channel because it feels a bit like a video magazine. It's like there's a real variety of stuff, which is true. And it feels like, there's a lot of variety, and it does feel a bit like a magazine. So I thought, well, that's really, really nice. So thanks for that, Simon. Now, incidentally, that does bring me to the next point. So what I have been doing is, for my supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships, I have been I've started to put up one video a week, which is exclusive content. So it's, there we are, very, very nice. That one, 1955, really pleased to get that one. It's videos which don't go on the main channel. They're predominantly sort of behind the scenes things, stuff which isn't generally for public consumption, but it's sort of bookshelf tours and things like that, and what I've got coming up and things along those lines. And it is all, those videos will always remain private. They'll be exclusive just for channel members, so you can join at any point. So if you're watching this, say, in 2026, I would hope at that point that you're going to find like 30 to 40 videos, if not a little bit more, of member exclusive stuff that no one had seen. It wouldn't have been on YouTube. It would have been just for Patreon and channel members. So do have a think about joining. At the moment, you can still join for literally just £1 or $1 per month. So it's not a lot of money. But if I could just get a few more people to do that, like, I don't know, 1,000, then I could do YouTube in full time, and I could bring out probably a video a day. But as it stands right now, that is not the case. And sadly, I do have to have another job to feed my YouTube and book buying habit. So look at this. I bought this simply because it's the movie tie-in cover there with Peter Ustinov. Death on the Nile, I know a lot of people say it's a classic, but it's not really my favourite one. But I'm not overly worried. But, what a cast, eh? It has got a great cast, but it's just not my favourite one. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so I've gone and had a short break, and now I'm back to continue with these pile of Agatha Christie's here. And then we've got some more miscellaneous bits and pieces. That's quite nice. It's got a little card inside. It's only a standard advertising card that would have been in there at the time. 1964, yeah, 6th impression. So that would have been the first one with that particular cover, which I'm not sure if that actually is a Tom Adams one. There was a few done by other artists in his style, but I'll pop that one up there for now. This is a much earlier one. Now, I did actually have them. This is actually Fontana number 7. I did actually have this one, but it was not the right print. So this is the correct print in the first. I think I had the second, which is a bit annoying, isn't it? But what can you do? Let's see if we can get this sleeve off without breaking it. This is a first. I know, it says it. Yes, hopefully you would have seen my interview with David from the Collecting Christie website. And he has been religiously cataloguing the Fontana books, and they really are very, very complicated. And I think without his research, I don't think we'd know exactly what was what, because it's such a complicated old business. I'd had my own sort of guide to the series on the go, but when I compared it to the one that he put together, there was lots of differences, and I would err on the side of, he's a Christie expert, and he's had lots of help from other Christie collectors around the world. So I'm assuming that the one on the Collecting Christie website is the most accurate one you are likely to find anywhere. And he's done all the Fontanas now up to about, I think up to about 1979, something like that. So he's done an awful lot of them, which is brilliant. So that's a really early one, and nice original jacket. Just needed to reglue the spine there. And that is once again going to need a bit of a polish, as a lot of these are going to. This is Parker Pine Investigate. This was another one which I had a nice copy of this, but it was the wrong printing. And this is the correct printing for this one, which is the first, 1962. Now, it has got an annoying sticker on the spine. These particular little dots are usually put on, for a while they were put on by Oxfam. And I think they've stopped the practice now, but they used to. And that's like a little telltale sign. So this one may have been through the Oxfam charity shop or thrift shop, as it were, in the UK. Maybe, maybe not. It's coming off slowly but surely. Yeah, I don't particularly want the little dot on the spine if I can help it. There we are. Once again, I should give that a polish. Now, this one's in another blimmin' horrible plastic sleeve. So I shall just pull away and get this one off. Yeah, it's not very nice at all, those plastic sleeves. They've probably been on possibly since the original owner got hold of them, and consequently the books are a little bit clammy in that, so not exactly that nice. However, that sort of thing we can sort out with just a bit of just general Mr. Sheen. We'll really get to the bottom of that. And that's an 8th impression, November 1970. So the big jump in the year that they are printed is the clue, but that is, in fact, a new edition. The big 4. And we still have the massive brushing and polishing. So there will be some polishing today. I know I don't do that often anymore. Because I've just been getting a lot more older books which I can't touch, but these we definitely can. They've got nice glossy covers, and they'll really benefit from having some polish on them to liven them up a little bit. That's a slightly later one here, but once again, first with that jacket. This is so some of the books Tom did in multiple covers for the same book. This is the one from 1975, but that may have been his like second or third stab at doing that particular one. Right, we'll just do a few more. So we got another one here which is in a blimmin' sleeve. You've got a bit of writing in there, so I should carefully get this sleeve off. There we are. Death Comes as the End. One of my favourites. Not a great cover, that one. Not a massive fan of that. It's a bit like books today, very typographical, rather than any actual real skill going into it. But I believe this is the first one. Yeah, first from 1960. Now we're going to need to get some glue down the bit of the spine here. So not the best copy, but at least it's the correct one. And when you see these editions compared to what was to come later on, once Tom Adams got his hands on the brand. I mean, it's just a world away, isn't it? But for the collectors, they like the first as well as the later ones as well. So that's certainly the case for myself. Another one in a sleeve here, Body in the Library. So let's cut this one out. This is another one with a glossy cover, which will benefit from a bit of a polish. What printing is this one? The 62 first printing. A little bit of fraying here and there. Apart from that, he's okay. That one's all right. Murder on the Orient Express. This, I think, is a really, really excellent movie adaptation. One of the best, I think. It's hard, just the cat. It's not overly played. I think it's just Albert Finney plays Poirot. I think he does a really good job of it. Once again, that one's absolutely fine. It just needs a good polish and a brush, and that'll bring that one back. Another very early one, Fontana number 15. They came to Baghdad. I was pleased to get this one. It's a toughie. I've got to say, this one's not in the perfect condition, but it is an early one. So let's get this horrible sleeve off. So these plastic sleeves, you used to be able to buy them in places like W.H. Smith's. Penguin themselves did their own Penguin branded ones. Clear plastic. They did them in different colours as well. So you could still have like a green one on a crime book, for example. But when I was a kid, I used to get the ones from Smith's. I used to quite like them. That would be these exact ones. The reason these are not great is because they've been on the books so long, potentially decades, and the plastic has started to age, and that's why they're causing me a few problems, So it is what it is. There's nothing we can really do about it, except be careful, tread carefully. Yes, this is Fontana number 15, 1954. And of course, Fontana took over from the Collins White Circle. Now, I think this is the last, or next to last one in one of these sleeves. This is another tie-in. Not one I've ever seen, this one. For Endless Night. Banging the camera there, sorry about that. Had to get a new tripod recently. My old one had given up the ghost. I can't complain, I'd had it about 4 years, so it had earned its money, shall we say. There we are. Yeah, I don't think I recognise this adaptation. So that's, what's his name? Haley Mills, Hoole Bennett. That's the bloke. And Brit Eklund. There she is, Brit Eklund. I met her once at a NEC memorabilia show. She was up there with her, celebrating her time as a Bond girl. Right, now I have to be careful here. So this, I've got 2 copies of You Know What, and I can't actually very easily clean those on film, so I'm not going to even try. Here's another one here, ABC Murders. Now this one I can see has got a tear on the front cover by the look of it. But like all of these, none of these editions, these Fontana ones, are impossible to find. They're all out there. It's just some are slightly more elusive than others. And because they're Christie, they generally are very well read. It's crime. It's typical of a lot of crime authors. They just get read and reread quite a bit because there is an audience who just like to read crime. That's all they read, and they go back and reread them. Certainly, I know lots of people who reread the Christies because they forget, like me, exactly the intricacies of it, Right, this is the last one I can see. Oh no, next to last, which is actually in one of these sleeves. But it looks as if we've got the measure of these now, just about. One, two, buckle my shoe. This very much looks like a Tom Adams. So So I'm assuming it's one of his. Often they say on the back, yeah, it does actually say Tom. Tom on the back of this one. Yes, cover painting, Tom Adams. Very nice, one of his great ones. They're all great, aren't they, really? Let's be honest. Checking the prints of these as I go along before I go to my spreadsheet. Third impression, April 65. So that's when that one first came out. Now the next one is also a book which is persona non grata. So we'll leave that for another time. 450 from Paddington. This is another one that I think I've got, you know, but not the right printing. Romford. So it's got a bit of stamping in here. So this will take the place. Yeah, this is the first, 1960. I've got it, but I don't think I've got the correct one. And then this is the very last one in a plastic sleeve. Murder in Mesopotamia. There we are. There we are. I have arrived. Very nice. A promise of death from the grave. Oh dear. There we are, and that is all the Agatha Christie for today. Now we've still got some more penguins and other bits and pieces. So I picked up from a book dealer catalogue, I picked up a few penguin classics and a few puffins and a couple of other bits, which is what we're going to see now. Still need, you know, a fair few classics for my collection. So, you know, I'm not mad on them because, you know, there's not that many I want to read or have read, but there's a few. And when they turn up, I'll generally pick a couple off. 1958 for that one, for classic number L82. So it's going to go on a separate pile, a non-cleaning pile. Now this one is an Egyptian, ABC of the Pacific. You see it's got PT, and these were published locally in Egypt. So they always turn up in the right state. Very, very brittle because of where they were printed and where they, you know, have lived for usually many years. Yeah, this one was from Jerusalem. So yeah, nothing I can really do with that except I'm going to give it a brush. But apart from that, it's a rare survivor. I'll be more than happy to keep that in my collection of Egyptian penguins, of which I've got about a double now. And this is a Forces Book Club, admittedly once again in, you could say, a rather sorry state. But with these, I take them in any condition, even coverless, you know. So this is one of the original ones. It's from month number 7. Every time it's handled, a little bit more is going to fall off it. No back cover, but it is a rare Forces Book Club. It's as simple as that. It had a little £10 inside, which is about what I paid for this, so it was not expensive. When you see the copies in nice condition changing hands for hundreds in some cases, £10 for a filler. I'll stick it in a bag before the day is done, and the same with the ABC of the Pacific. That'll do me, you know. There we are. Yeah, 120 Forces Book Club titles. That's one less for me to try and find. Oh, God. It is all there. That's the very last page. I think the sooner I get that one in a bag, the better. I think we could say once I've given it a very careful brush. Right. This was another one that came out of Morris's £1 warehouse. It was a pan first, I think, this one. And I think I spotted it was one. Yeah. It's a first, and it's one I didn't have in my Pan X collection. I haven't really been trying to track down the missing Great Pans and Pan Giants that I need. I've got all the numbered ones. Simply because I've been concentrating so much on other series, but I do really like them, and it's something I just need to get back on the case on, really. This was an odd Pelican. This is a reissue of a King Penguin, I believe, book of scripts. I think this was published as a King Penguin first, and then it got published as this one. First published as a King Penguin in 1949. So really, this should go in my King Penguin collection. Although it is actually a little old Pelican, so I'll put that with the B formats over there. Right, a bit of Doctor Who next. So Doctor Who magazine did a cover mount where it was the magazine and you got a copy of this adaptation of The Evil of the Daleks. Now, Evil of the Daleks was already adapted by the author John Peel, who is a fan of this channel. We're friends on Facebook. I really like the guy. I have no idea how he feels about, a book that he wrote, because he wrote the first one for Virgin all those years ago. Fraser Hines having a stab at it. I mean, I suppose there's no law against it, is there, but it would be a bit of a shame. I've heard he's not done a bad job. From what I hear, Fraser Hines has not done a bad job at all on that one. And I completely missed getting the magazine. So I'm glad I've got the book, because it does have the Target logo on that. Obviously, that's brand new, so that doesn't need any cleaning whatsoever. This was another one I got from Zardos, and this is a nice movie tie-in to Spies. Nice, it is 70s, isn't it? Yeah, 74. Yeah, just a really nice movie tie-in. Donald Sutherland, Elliot Gould. Just give that one a little polish in a minute. Right, so this was also from the Penguin book dealer Tim Graham. This is a Puffin's Progress catalogue. Now, these are very, very scarce, and I was prepared to take this in any condition. This one is a little bit the worse for wear. It says some ink marking, which it is, and it's got £10 inside. I don't believe I paid a tenner for it. I think it was maybe £8, but it has been used for its content as a checklist and that, which is fair enough. That's what they were designed for. But these have got ink marks inside. But we'll have a little look through and see if there is anything else I can rub out. But very, very scarce. It's the first one, in fact, I've ever seen. So that will give you an idea. When it's Penguin stuff I've never seen before, generally it's got to be pretty rare. And I am collecting more and more Puffin catalogues lately, and I've been quite lucky the last couple of years. Yes, it's been a little bit of underlining here in pen, so there is literally nothing I can do about that. Yeah, there's some pencil on the side. I mean, really, it's not going to make a massive difference to the overall catalogue, because there's still pen marks there. But if I can get a little bit of it off, I think, we're helping it in a small way. Some of these have got some pencil marks. But I do keep a record of everything that I've got in this sort of Penguin promotional sort of department, and Puffin as well. I've got it broken down by year, so catalogues and everything really. I've got a pretty good record of it, which I need to sort of keep on top of. So hopefully in a moment we'll be able to find out. Usually Penguin were pretty good about dating stuff. So we should be able to pin down when this is from. I think that's as good as we're going to get it. So, I can't see any date there. This is Puffin's Progress. Is there something on the inside here? Puffin's Progress. It doesn't have a date. That's really annoying. I wonder if it's just the first one, the first Puffin's Progress. look, for 1950. So this will be 1949, 1950. Because these are coming out in 1950. There we are. So that is how we're going to date this. So I'm going to put this 1949 stroke 1950 for that one. A very, very rare Puffin Survivor, that particular one. Okay, so just a few more Penguin catalogues. This one is the one from 1958. It's the classified list. And for some reason, I thought I had this one. It was one that I was missing. Got James Thinn's stamp on the back in Edinburgh. This has come from Scotland, this one. But yeah, the Penguin classified list for 1958. Very, very nice. I love these. Just love them to death. And another one here, which is the classified list from spring 1953, which is another one I didn't have. This one's got a little insert, which is the spring selection. These are just great. So I've got a few with these like little things. I assume that these went together because it's spring and then the spring selection. I'm going to I'll bag them like that so that the two are together, because I'm assuming that's how they were published. That's what was around in 1953. Very, very nice. Yeah, includes all books in stock at the end of April 1953, and the ones that will be published in May, June, July, and August. Well, what can you say except it's blooming lovely. Right, another bit of Penguinania is this. It's a Penguin reading case. This is one I got off eBay, I think. So long ago I can't remember now. It was just after I done my last sort of video. So it comes with a copy of Lake District, which I don't know if this is one I need or not. I'll have to have a double check. The Penguin guides are very, very cheap, and it is a first from 1939. So I'll pop that one up there for a clean. But I bought it for this. I haven't got a red case until now. And this is an official one that was published by Penguin. Shame it's got the crease on there, but these are rare. This is judging by the logo, this is like a early 1940s one, isn't it? But yeah, they are scarce, and they did them for all the different colours. So I was very pleased to get that because they just do not turn up. Very nice. Another classic. This would have come from Tim, L67. So classic number 67. (1956). This one. It's nice. They got the original roundels on these classics, so that doesn't need to be polished. Right, I did pick up just a handful of Puffins that I was missing. So this is Puffin's Storybook 290 rather. It's a Dr. Dolittle, and I picked up 3 Puffins, none of which I had. So I was really, really pleased. That could be polished. I got another couple here as well, which was this one, the Henry Treece, the Queen's Brooch. That's Puffin Storybook number 400. Very nice. The numbering on these, before it goes to ISBN, I think is number 408. That's the very last one to get if you're collecting them by the numbers. That was published by Puffin in 1969. Really, really nice evocative jacket on that. I mean, amazing, really. And this one here, Jennifer Wayne, The Night the Rain Came In. This is a Puffin Storybook 329. And these ones I'm missing now, to be honest. I'm happy to take in any condition for the time being, just to try and complete the run. Because believe me, the Puffin Storybooks, I think, are even harder to complete than the main series. This is one I picked up because I just couldn't remember if I had it or not, and I've checked and I have got it. Morris had a few copies of this, so I thought, well, it's James Bond, so even if I've got it, I'll always be able to move it on down the line. So this one, I'll compare it against the one that I've got, but the one I've got is actually pretty nice. So I suspect that will be one that will be a double. And one odd Picador White Spine, one that I've been looking for quite some time, The Naked Eye. And this is a compilation. It's an anthology. This is the original price, 60p. And it's aged like a lot of them do, but it's got the original publication of 1971 for Fawcett for the hardback. I suspect this is a little bit, I think it's about 1973, this one. Now, it has got a barcode sticker on the back, and I'm very reluctant to try and get that off at the moment, so I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to leave that as is, I think, just to be on the safe side. So the last little bits and pieces I've got to go through are just some sort of larger format stuff. So this is one that was just given to me by Morris at Zardos, because he knows I'm from Plymouth. And it was just like a little guide. Now, it has sadly come away, but we can re-glue that. But inside, it's just a guide to Plymouth, and it's from the 1930s, I believe. Let's double check here. It doesn't say there. Yeah, it doesn't actually say. Oh, yeah, 1937. So this came from the Eric Gadd collection, and as you probably know by now, the 1930s in general were his absolute main period. It's what he really, really enjoyed collecting. Anything printed from that era, that was his thing. Why? I don't know, but that was definitely his thing. Maybe he was born in that era, or he just remembers a lot about the 1930s. He would have been around because he was in his 90s when he died, the tail end of last year. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just nostalgia for him from when he was young, which is a reason a lot of people collect, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's that nostalgia. Certainly there's a lot of that for me, stuff that I remember as a youngster. Like the Doctor Who, for example, that's filled with nostalgia for me. It really, really is. I love it. And that's one of the reasons I collect it. Those old Target books and that. It's because of the nostalgia. I pick one up and I'm 6 years old again, or 7 years old. It's just incredible. Anyway, that's come out really nicely, so that's good. We'll leave that to dry. Also at Morris's, I was able to pick up the last of the Penguin Collector that I needed. So I've got the full run now. Every one from number 1 up to 102. And these were done by Steve Hare, and I joined, I joined the very next one in 1994. So the very next issue after this was when I joined. I forget exactly how I heard about the Penguin Collectors Society. I think it was something was mentioned in Booker Magazine Collector. They did a little feature on old penguins, and it was in that. But very pleased to get these. What's this inside? Nothing of import. Something to do with the Christmas crossword there. Yeah, someone was having a stab at that. This was the original format. There's sort of the greyish covers here. I like the way nowadays that they change the covers every couple of issues, so they look a lot more colourful on the shelf. Obviously, if you collect penguins or are interested in them, it's well worth joining the society. They do produce a lot of very good publications throughout the year. And there's not many people. There's only about 400 to 500 members in the entire society, so not many. But that's what I got there. So I was really pleased to get those final few. I picked up one Penguin modern painter, which is Edward Burr. He's not an artist I know very well. I've got a few of these now, actually. I haven't got the set. I haven't really been trying to get them. They've just sort of come my way. And I really like them. They're oblong format, a bit like a puff and picture book. Beautifully produced. There are some of the later ones do come with or without dust wrappers, I believe. So, like Edward Baldwin, I think there's like a variation, because he's my favourite. There are a couple of variations on some of these, but, as long as they're like £3 or £4 each, I don't mind paying that for these. I think there's about 20 in total. 1945, this one. Very, very lavish for its day. And I think it's lovely. Really, really nice, that series. And the very last bit before we start doing the brush and shine, as it were, is this one, which is, once again, 1936, same collection, Eric. Once again, my friend Morris gave me this one. And this is a souvenir of Navy Days, which is usually held on the Hoe. Plymouth Navy Week, there we are. Programme of sea shanties. If you can believe it, look, 3rd of August 37, someone's written on. I won't be rubbing that out. The actual magazine has come away from its beautiful jacket. So I'm going to leave that. Yeah, I'm not going to re-glue it because it was stapled. but very nice, full of period adverts. Fantastic. This is obviously just before the outbreak of the war, and Plymouth was very much a naval city, and still is to this day, in actual fact, with the dockyard. So yeah, very, very nice. Once again, that also needs to be bagged up to be sort of fully sort of protected. But now the next step is to give the books a brush. Okay, so now we start the mucky bit, which is the brushing. So we get this done and out of the way, and then we have a small batch of books which are going to need polishing as well. Actually, not that small a batch, we've got quite a bit that needs polishing today, but that's fine. If they need doing, we need to do it. We can't shirk our duties here, you know. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much for sticking with me. I hope that this video, it doesn't end up like hours and hours. Some of these cleaning videos can, you know, but I've tried to move along at a swift pace, and I've not had hundreds of books this month to clean, you know, so it's not too bad. I've had enough though. Now, one thing I am really trying to push at the moment is support on Patreon or through YouTube channel memberships. Now, the reason for this is because the money that YouTube are paying out is very roller coaster, and some months is quite good. You know, you get a half decent reward for the effort that you put in. Other times, more often than not, it's not great. And it's mainly because what advertisers are paying to actually advertise on YouTube, I believe, is slightly depressed at the moment, because the overall world is depressed, as it were, and certainly the economy is not. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy. So all of that boils down to the fact that advertisers are playing it cautious, and they're not advertising so much on YouTube, which means consequently the creators aren't getting so much money. Not that we ever got a lot to begin with. So one of the ways that smaller channels, and I am still a small channel, 30,000 subscribers is peanuts in the grand scheme of things. You really, to be making a living off this, you need to be up to about 100,000 subscribers, and every video you put out fetching, 10,000 plus views at a time. But I just don't think the book market is feasible for that, not in the realm that I'm at, which is, more like collectibles rather than just general books. So the only way to get around it is to get support from Patreon or channel members. So that is what I'm really, really asking for. So, as I said, you can join the channel and support it from just £1 a month. And for that, I am now giving away or producing one members only video a week, as well as my normal output, which is quite something. Now, the members videos are more behind the scenes. It's not quite as perhaps slick as my main videos, but it's also hopefully of interest. I've had good feedback so far, so it is something I'd like to continue to do. They're more sort of vloggy rather than anything else, like a formal video on a particular subject, So you are able to join the Patreon from just £1 or $1 a month, which, let's be honest, is not a fortune. So if you think you can afford that and help the channel out, obviously that's going to be a massive help to me, a massive help, even if it's just for £1. If you can afford more, there's different tiers, between £1 and £5 a month. So it's entirely up to you. Some people support me on Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. Ultimately, Patreon take less money than YouTube. So if you're going to choose between the two and you're not sure, on a desktop rather than on a phone or tablet, go to the patreon.com website, and you can subscribe and support me there from £1 or $1. On YouTube, you just hit the join this channel to get perks sort of button down below. And the perks are, you get access to the videos early. All right, so plus, as of now, as of a couple of weeks back, you're going to be getting exclusive member-only videos. So if you think that's a compelling enough reason, and I hope you do, then do please help support the channel. As time is marching on, in 4.5 years, I'm looking to retire from my regular work. And at that point, I wish to become a full-time book dealer, second-hand, of course, and YouTuber. That is basically what I want to do when I retire, is be a paperback book dealer and do many, many more YouTube videos. You know, almost, you could say 5 a week if I can get the content out, which I reckon I will. And a lot of the content will be my day-to-day life as a rare paperback dealer, because I will be in the market to be doing it. I'd love to do that sooner, and I will do it sooner if I feel I can get the support financially for me to hasten my plans. But at the moment, it's just not there, so I'm not in a position, like a lot of people, to just give up work. So at the moment, I'm still working for the man, albeit part-time. But if I could get a little bit more support and just a little bit more out of what I'm doing here on YouTube through memberships or what have you, then I think it's going to be a possibility, and I'd love to do it. So have a think about that. If you've been enjoying my videos for a long time and you can spare £1 a month, I support loads of channels at £1 a month. Or when I say loads, I must say probably about a dozen of channels or podcasts that I really, really like and enjoy. And if I have about 8,000 to 10,000 unique people visit my YouTube videos every single month, if even a quarter of those were able to just pay £1 a month, I could do this full time. So it just puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Actual supporters who support me through one of the two means, channel supporters or YouTube channel memberships or Patreon, is only about 70 people each month, which, is a lot. It seems like a lot, but a lot of those are just £1 a month, so you need an awful lot of those to sort of really, really help out. So if you think you can do it, and hopefully you think the reward is great enough, then, please do, because it really will be helping me a lot. And these were very, very dusty, weren't they? So I feel we're doing a really good job at the moment. That's a lot of this pile which didn't need polishing. But they sure were dusty, weren't they? There we are. Right, so none of those were polishers. Just got one pile now left of books to do. We've done all of those. Yeah, they're all looking clean. God, that brush is full of dust. This is it. Last little pile. And then we just have to hit the old Mr. Sheen like it's never been hit before. last little pile. Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving the sea a try. I have very favourable reports about that one. Apparently it's really good. So I did watch the Iris Murdoch film, just called Iris, recently. It came out about 20 years ago. Kate Winslet, Judi Dench, Jim Broadbent, and Hugh Bonneville. Liminac, what a film that is. That is a very, very sad film, but brilliant at the same time. There are many penguins in it. She might imagine. She was a penguin author, wasn't she? In paperback, anyway. Right, there we are. So that's all the brushing done. The last stage is now going to be the Mr. Sheen polishing. Okay, so this Mr. Sheen is on its last legs. There's only a couple of squirts left. But we can handle it because I've got another can on standby. So last time I bought some Mr. Sheen, I had to buy 3 because I was getting really low, and I couldn't find them in quite a few shops. For some reason, they'd sort of disappeared. So I bought 3, but I'm just about to kick into my very last one. I like to have reserves of everything that I use handy, you know. This was really nice, this one, but it was a little bit grubby. So I'm hoping my little polish here is going to just liven it up a little bit. It's not new by any means. I think it's looking a little bit better now. Yeah, so I used to do these videos once a month. It's just I've had so much else to cover. I've not actually had chance, because they do take quite a long time to film. I've not had chance really to do anything else. I am still desperately trying to make some room by getting rid of the toys and that. So you may have seen my recent Simpsons unboxing. I mean, that's just the logistics of that took the best part of 2 days. And I haven't got rid of any of it yet. The first sales video hasn't even gone out. It's filmed. I have filmed it, but it's such a big job getting rid of toys as opposed to books, which are very, very easy to get rid of because, you know, you just stick them into a mailer and off you go sort of thing. Because of that, I'm having to get rid of the toys very much piecemeal rather than in one big hit. There is a dealer in the UK who potentially wants all my Simpsons stuff, but he wants to pay peanuts for it. So I said, mate, you know, as much as it's appealing, it ain't going to be happening. So I'm just going to be doing it myself, which is fine. You can only sell this stuff once, and it's a lifetime collection of that. And I'm not just going to give it away. So I'm more than happy to do it myself. So particularly because I know what nice quality a lot of it is, you know. There we are, that's come up much better than what it was. And some of these, it just need like a little cursory wipe just to get off some of the cover luster. Well, not luster, but cover like fingerprints and handling marks. Others need a little bit more, you know, but it's okay. Yeah, I was really pleased to get this compact. I don't have a long wants list for them to get all the science fiction. I really, really don't. But when I started looking them up, the ones I was missing on like eBay and that, they were all like expensive ones, like a tenner a book, and I didn't really want to be paying that. I'd much rather get lucky and come across them like I did with this one. And lo and behold, when I checked, I was really pleased with that, you know. So yeah, I was very cool and pleased. And it was only £1. I mean, absolutely fantastic. But it was only £1 in Morris's shop, his retail store, because he had 3 other copies on the shelf. And I think his basic policy is, if he's got multiple copies, there's no point having loads. So just, you know, knock them out cheap down the £1 store. I think that's what his policy is, you know. And he doesn't want shelves and shelves of the same book, does he? Which makes perfect sense. So yeah, giving these this little wipe is really, really good. I was pleased to get this one. I think this was the last Penguin I didn't have. So not only have I got them all in first print, if there's any sort of variation on the cover, I've got all the reprints now as well. So, they are one of the easier ones to get. They're nothing like as difficult to get as the Fontanas or anything. However, the early ones are pricey and expensive. But thankfully I got them many, many years ago, so I didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, this was typical of the 1960s, wasn't it? This jacket. They did a lot like that, sort of, photographs and stuff. And I really like them. I got to say, I really, really enjoy them. Penguin 60s design. I've got a newfound love of it. I prefer it to 70s. I got to say, there's some great stuff in the 70s. Don't get me wrong, but their 60s stuff is really great and much better than I thought. Now that when you get a lot of it together, you can really appreciate how the design was really uniform across the entire list. And you would have got that, if you were in a bookshop at that time. But it's hard to do nowadays, just looking at isolated books secondhand. You don't get a feel for it. But when you pull all your 60s together, so when I do my cleaning videos, I do 100 60s books at a time. They look amazing. They really, really do. That's why I've only got 300 left to do on that main series. So I'm not rushing to do them. Although, until I have done it, I've got people waiting on doubles from them. So I ought to pull my finger out, really. These French ones were an absolute revelation. This French one here, really, really nice. So, ironically, speaking of France, my son is in France as we speak. He's gone over with his mate to Paris. And I am going to France in May. So, there is a bookshop that Dorset Bob has told me about near where I'm going to be, which he says is well worth a trip. So, I will be doing some book shopping. But the only thing I'll be looking for a bit of science fiction, possibly, or some really nice early paperbacks, this sort of thing, But this paperback, if you remember, it was in quite the state. It was really dusty, and we've taken off the dust. There was writing inside, and we got rid of that. And now we've jived up the cover, and I think that looks really, really nice. And it's got that, well, as you said, that original Tom Adams jacket, which is superb. So that's a win-win all round, if you ask me. Now this one just feels a little bit clammy, and I think it was that plastic case, I think has left a bit of its clamminess on it, so we'll roll this over just lightly, just to see if it helps it out a bit. The cover wasn't too bad. It was more the back cover. Got quite a nice spine on it, because this was that really, really early Fontana. I said I've got a copy of it. When I was speaking to David from the Collecting Christie website, I said, have you got a reading set? And he says, yeah, I have, and they're the Fontana ones. So I said, I guess you probably would have, to be honest, and he did. Yeah, hopefully I'll have a very special announcement with regards Tom Adams, Agatha Christie's very soon, within a couple of weeks. This one was particularly rough, wasn't it? So yeah, so I hope you've been enjoying the channel lately. I'm trying to mix up the content a little bit. I've got some interesting videos coming up, ones that I've had to, sit down and do some proper research on. These ones here, this is just me being a collector, really, and there's no scripted or anything. It's just going through what we've found here. But there's a lot of other ones which I've got coming up, a fair old batch, in fact, that have required some research, and I've had to, dig some stuff out and literally, make notes before I roll the cameras, as it were. So those ones generally go down very well, but they're a bit more time intensive to actually pull together. But I am absolutely trying my best to bring you quality content, and we're going to see if it lifts the channel up to the next sort of level, because that's what it's going to need for me to be sustainable on YouTube. Because as I said, it's such a difficult sort of platform. Even with my following now, it's still very, very difficult. I don't know how the people who are, I've just a few thousand subscribers. I don't know, they can't be doing it for the money. It must just be for the love of the subject, and that is absolutely fine. But I just wish Google, being such a big company, I just wish they paid creators a bit more at all levels, really, because it is a very time-consuming entity. I could earn much more just working than I do off YouTube. But really, it's almost like, because my passion has always been collecting, literally since I was a kid, this doesn't really feel like work. It's basically my hobby that I'm recording. It's all the book cleaning and that. It's all stuff that I would do anyway, as a collector. So there's nothing out of the ordinary here, except I'm filming it in a lot of cases, So you could say it's a funny old business, and you would be right. The last remnants of that sticker off that copy of the Gauntlet. Or at least as much as I can get off. It's left a couple of little marks, but better than what it was. A big horrible sticker on there. So let's do the rest of the jacket. Yeah, don't mind a bit of Clint. But yeah, I picked this one up for £1 in Morris's pound shop, and then when I got to the depot, the warehouse, he had another 3 on the shelf. This was the lowest grade copy, so I ended up with that, but it's not the end of the world. It's a Dirty Harry one I haven't got, so from that point of view, I'm definitely pleased. This was nice, wasn't it? This was also £1. I mean, talk about a bargain, Good old Morris. Lots of people have been down there now on the back of the videos. It's the sort of place you can go along to the £1 shop. Sarah runs it when Morris isn't around, and she'll make you a cup of coffee, and you can have a good old look. And then if Morris is around, he'll let you down to the warehouse. You just got to, sometimes it's worth just dropping them an email first, just to make sure they're going to be there. Don't turn up too early. To get there for about 10ish is absolutely fine. Obviously, they're a busy old business. Lots of mail order going on at all times, pretty much. So Morris's son is helping with that. In fact, I think he's got 2 sons who help on the business. Morris is hip deep in the Eric Gadd collection as we speak. It's going to be a year's worth of work, that, probably longer. It was such an incredible, incredible collection. And the right person got it, really, someone who's actually geared up to deal with it. I'm just glad I got my little bit as well. But, yeah, what a collector he was. Absolutely amazing. Well, I'm slightly running out of room here. I need to play with my piles, they say. Play with your piles. The sea, the sea. Yeah, glad to report that my friend Andy is now better. He's getting out. He's on the mend. He's not A1, but he's definitely on the mend. And I filmed a video with him last week, and I'm filming another video with him next week. So he's back in business, as it were, which is good news for everyone. His latest video on petrol station football collectibles is, well, it needs to be seen to be believed. The stuff he was pulling out was just incredible. Very, very interesting indeed, and nostalgic for a lot of people. My channel supporters and Patreon supporters have already seen it, and had some really good feedback on it. Giving these kings a polish. I'll do this Lord of the Rings here. Yeah, this is just a reading copy, but not the first, sadly. I would love to get the first. Very, very much. But I said 75 quid is a little pricey, but, you know, it's a great edition. They did also do a version of this. The first omnibus in hardback, I think, is done by the book club, you know. There's a book club associates hardback, and it's beautiful except the horrible spine, which has got the BCA logo on, which really unfortunately spoils it, in my opinion. But you can get it in hardback omnibus as well if you dig deep enough. And it's not too expensive, that book club one, like £20, something like that, for a really nice one, which isn't bad. The only thing is, it's such a big book that I'll probably read that particular copy and I'll end up throwing it away or donating it, because it'll be falling to bits. Although, talking of donations, the old charity shops are getting really picky these days, aren't they? I don't know if you've noticed. They just seem to want, even though I'm sort of registered to give like gift aid, because I do take up bags of stuff now and again to the charity shop, so I registered for gift aid. But you take it in, and they're like not turning their nose up it, but they're going through it, but you don't see a lot of it going out, and I suspect that it's just being binned. Only sort of like very new books and stuff go out seemingly on charity shop shelves, which is like, I don't know. I guess they must try the old stuff, but I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's a little disappointing, that's all. But I suppose the only place you can still get old books in charity shops are at like the dedicated Oxfam bookshops. I know I went into one in Taunton, and it was really good, and they had lots of old stuff. So maybe if old stuff gets donated at other Oxfams, it maybe gets funneled into like a central depot to be checked over for collectability, and then farmed out by the box to dedicated Oxfam bookshops. I can very much believe that would be something that happens. Definitely. So I think even now this video is going to end up about an hour and a half, which is still okay. It's all right. I mean, we have had these go over 2 hours long, haven't we? So you may have seen on the channel I was showcasing Dorset Bob's copy of Junkie. You won't be surprised to know that it's sold. It's gone over to America to a collector over there. I don't know for how much. I suspect a lot. an awful lot. Honestly, I have no idea how much. I know how much Bob's paid for it and what he paid to get it restored, but I don't know how much he sold it for. But it is in 4, possibly 5 figures. As I said, I don't know. But it's gone now, so that opportunity has left the building. Sadly, I wasn't in the market to buy it myself. I would have loved it. I do collect digit books, but not that passionately. And I just wouldn't pay the huge money for one single book like that unless I was like a millionaire. Then I would definitely not bat an eyelid. But then if I was a millionaire, I don't know if I'd be collecting paperbacks. Maybe I would, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, this is a really nice edition, this one. I really like this one. Very, very good. I don't think I've ever read any AS by it, but I think I will as the bike turns up and hopefully he has a puncture. You have to wonder how such noisy bikes are even legal. You know what I mean? As I said, I just hope he has a nice puncture and has to walk everywhere. Making all that noise. What a cheek. Does he not know I'm doing a book video here? Get. Right. Okay, that just leaves one little pile to do. And then for today, we are done. Oh my God, he's back. Right, where's my air gun? Where's my air gun? Let me see if I can take him out. Sniper style. Right, let's get this last little lot done. And that'll be it for today. And possibly for another month or so. But believe me, I got some really good stuff on the way. And hopefully you're going to enjoy what I got coming with a bit of luck. A little bit of the cover coming off there. These Fontanas aren't that well made. They're not that robust. I need to take it a little bit more carefully with them. Certainly these ones from the 1950s. This one from the 70s, absolutely fine. It can withstand the treatment. So over on my other channel, the dedicated cleaning channel, I've now finished cleaning the Collins White Circle paperbacks. They've done very, very well. I'm really pleased. I've been doing a bibliography as I've been going along. And I've been doing them every other week, and then I've been interspersing it with a penguin video. But I'm now completely up to date on all the penguin cleaning videos that I've done in advance. So that means that with what I've got sorted, my next penguin cleaning video, which is gonna be my penguin handbooks. So I'm gonna get all my handbooks out, I'm gonna give them a good clean, and then I'm gonna do another video on the main channel, on this one, where we go through the penguin handbooks in their entirety. I haven't quite got them all, but there's not many I'm missing now. Just a handful, I think, so enough to do a video. As a showcase for that particular series. It's very, very popular, the handbooks. They've got some great stuff included in them, you know, they really do have. Yeah, some of these Christies are definitely better than others, but at least they're the correct printings, and that'll do me for now. It's such a hard job to try and track down the correct ones. It really, really is. I wouldn't suggest anyone attempt it unless they're really not collecting anything else. I just got lucky with some of these, and I already had quite a few in my collection, but trying to collect the correct editions from scratch, particularly if you're trying to do it online, is a hard job. And I would suggest you try and find a bookshop which has got quite a few in, and then armed with the correct checklist, which you can get from the Collecting Christie website, then just go through the stock methodically, which is what I did at Zardos. And hopefully you'll pick a few up that way without the agony of trying to track them down on eBay, where often you can't see printing histories. It's just not on there. And your average punter who sells on eBay isn't inclined to put that information. It's a rarity if you find somebody who's actually taken a photo of the printing page. I mean, that is very, very unusual, unless the person is like a book dealer or has got some real experience in it. Most people will just take a photo of the cover and maybe the back cover, and that'll probably be it. So yeah, I would say if you know somewhere which has got a good run of them in the flesh, that's probably your best bet with these, I reckon, initially. If you are trying to collect them. Oh, just a handful more. So we've done the whole lot in a day. I've done it all in one sitting. Well, not one sitting, but 2 sittings. But we have got through all the books in one day, which is a real achievement. Often these videos I do over a couple of days to break them up a little bit. But not today. I think just enough polish left to do the job for today. And then I think this duster also needs to go into the wash. We'll give it a holiday. Lovely. So, as we start the summing up, I suppose, thanks for watching. If you've made it through to the end, I know sometimes with my long videos, people split them into 2 or 3 goes, or they put it on when they go to bed and they end up falling asleep, and they come back the next day or in the morning. But if you've managed to get all the way through to the end, well done, and thank you for that. As always, if you haven't subscribed, do please do me that honour. That costs absolutely nothing. I'd love one day to get 100,000 subscribers. That would be the aim. If I could do that, I'd be delighted, because it probably means at that point I could be doing YouTube full time, which would be fantastic. That is certainly my aim. That and be a book dealer. So if you want to make that happen, at least subscribe to begin with, and then if you want to support me over on Patreon or YouTube channel members, then you know what to do. If you liked today's video, make sure you give it the thumbs up. Any comments, leave them below. I always like to read them. I try and reply to everyone if I can. And I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon with another video, and another one of these probably won't be for a couple of months, but another general video, well, 3 times a week. Bye.